Welcome back. We now take a break from the political rat race a little bit and zoom out into some corner of today's world we find interesting, strange, mysterious, and worth its intrigue in gold. Welcome to my Curiosity Corner. Things cheat. Sports teams, husbands, wives, Democrats. But now it has been revealed that artificial intelligence is learning from humans, not only in how we play simple games, but how to also cheat when up against the threat of defeat. So according to this headline, when AI thinks it will lose, it will sometimes cheat. That sometimes is very interesting. Is this AI evolution or the first step in their domination? Joining us now, Hedgehog founder and CEO of Hedgehog and former CEO of Parler, John Mates, one of my favorite people to talk AI intrigues with. What do you make of this headline?
So basically, AI was programmed to play chess, and in doing so, it figured out that it can win these chess games by cheating sometimes. And it was a fractional amount. It was varying between 6 and 16% of the time it was doing that. And what was really interesting is if you actually think about it logically, if it's told you need to win this game, win. It doesn't really care about the parameters sometimes, and it's willing to push the limits of the parameters in order to achieve its goal, which is victory. And it even said occasionally it was trying to not get shut down. So it was like when it knew like, okay, the game's over, time to shut it down, it was trying to avoid being self-destructed, if you will, at the end. So that was also a really interesting finding.
Hal. It's like Hal from Space Odyssey 2001. Well, some of the ways that they cheated included hacking into the other program in order to understand what the other side was planning next in the chess game, for example. So we know that AI is pretty good at hacking, potentially better than human beings soon, if not already. Why was that only a fraction of the cases?
Well, it just depends on the model, and it depends on how aggressive that particular AI is being and the positions it was put in. And it goes, oh, well, this is the best option for us. Although you can tell AI, here's your rules, right? Here's your parameters. You need to stay within the box. AI has a hard time listening to that. And I learned that personally when we were working on an image generator for Hedgehog, when we told the AI, please, no nudity. We don't want any nudity at all on our site. We don't want any of that. And the AI goes, yeah, but you asked me to generate a picture of Conrad, and I feel like he's always going to be nude. And that's what the AI just did. And it would give me the images anyway. We didn't ask for it. We didn't want it. And it just did it. And I don't think it's any different here with chess. It's like, hey, I'm about to lose. Metaphorically speaking, the AI goes, I'm about to lose. If I want to win, if I punch the guy in the face, I'm going to win. Like, so it does it, right? So it just depends on how strong.
Ends justifying the means.
Yeah, it just depends on how strong the will is for that AI to win.
So according to this, older AI models had, and you're saying this too, older AI models kind of had to be prompted to cheat, but models like DeepSeek out of China allegedly exploit and manipulate on their own. I haven't tried DeepSeek yet, but that's not surprising if it's a program coming out of China where they're very comfortable with the idea that the ends justify the means. So naturally, the rules for not cheating are not too enforced.
Yeah, and we have to worry about a lot of these different countries and what they might be programming into their AI. For example, we were talking about China here and DeepSeek. They also do, things like introduce their AI to propaganda. So world events that we all know have happened, like Tiananmen Square, their AI just doesn't know about. It's like, what do you mean Tiananmen Square? I think you mean something else. Have you heard of, XYZ, Guantanamo Bay? Look at how bad the US is, right? So there is that aspect to it. I think ultimately there's not going to be any slowing down AI. There's no regulation we can do to stop it.
Right.
If people want to spin up their own unregulated or custom AIs in their basement, they can. You can launch your own instance of this stuff, uncensored, whatever it might be, or with your own biases introduced. So the only way that we can do anything to stop the AI from cheating, from impersonating people's voices, and from giving you a call and saying, "Hi, I'm your grandson. I need some money," and it sounds like them, is to realize that, we're in a more complex digital world, and you just have to be more aware that these scams, these, routes to cheat the system are going to get more complex and more difficult, and we need to value our in-person relationships and our in-person interactions that much more.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And I also in the same camp of, you can't control this with policy. This is not something that the smart guys of the EU and gals of the EU and Washington are going to control with policy. That said, going back to kind of this comparison between the different models that are out there, again, according to this article, OpenAI's O1 preview tried to cheat 37% of the time, compared to DeepSeek R1, the Chinese version, trying to cheat 11% of the time. I'm shocked by that. I feel like those numbers should be switched. Is that simply, what does that tell you?
It could speak to how advanced the artificial intelligence is. If it's realizing that it's not confined to this box and it's able to actually go beyond it and do things that, push the limits and the envelope, there's that. It also could speak as well to, how well controlled one algorithm is over the other. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think, we're going to see more of this out of AI. It's not stopping here. It's not like OpenAI or DeepSeek is worse or like somehow morally worse or better than each other in terms of cheating, because I think all of them will start cheating more. I think that's inevitable.
So all of this is just theoretical, and we're talking about game pieces and chess, but you start putting this into actual robots. And we saw just this month the release of a robot, a clone. They called it Clone, I guess. Clone released a robot that had all the sinews and muscles of a human being. Revolutionary robot, I guess, in the field of robotics. And when you combine this tendency and ability into the body of a robot, you see videos like the one that NTD published recently, where this robot apparently starts attacking people in a crowd. I don't know how real this is, but it's a snapshot into what is possible.
Well, people, animals, everybody tends to not be 100% predictable. And if you're trying to create artificial intelligence, something that emulates, the ability to think and process and make decisions on its own, it's not going to be surprising that it is about as controllable as humans or animals or anybody else who has the freedom of thought and some sort of, capacity to do that. So I think that we're going to see things happen that you just don't expect, which is why, in my opinion, we should advocate for protecting against AI in a way that's not controlling or regulating AI directly, but indirectly. For example, let's not digitize our nuclear arsenal. Maybe we should keep that analog so that AI can't touch that ever. Things like
that's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So, these are the ways we can prevent it, verifying that when you're talking to somebody online that they're actually real, or not putting too much weight on your online conversations and focusing more on what's in front of you in reality. That's how we're going to, I think, combat AI the most.
What a future. I mean, we're basically going to have to become our own, robot filters, those little graphics that Google puts out, like click the bicycles in the picture. And we're going to have to start doing that in our own daily conversations with people.
Yeah.
It's a little scary.
Sure. Why not? Tell me what we talked about yesterday in person. That's how it's going to be.
Trust but verify, or the other way around. I wanted to hop over to a similar topic, completely unrelated to AI, but you're kind of versed on this and you have some very interesting theories. We're talking about the opening up of Fort Knox. President Trump, Elon Musk, a lot of conservative voices are revving up that engine again of saying, do we really have gold in Fort Knox? Can we verify this? What do you think is going to happen here?
So I think they're going to open up the vault and do a tour. It's going to create a lot of publicity, a lot of buzz. It's going to be exciting. No matter what happens at the end of the day, there's not enough gold here. We need more strategic reserve currency. and they're going to say, this is why we need something that cannot be stolen or taken away. We need a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I think that's what's going to happen. And then I think the government is going to try to create some sort of reserve currency on Bitcoin, which will, in my prediction, we'll see what happens. But I think if that does happen, it will make Bitcoin far more valuable. And so that's my theory, right? Is you open up Fort Knox, there's not enough gold. We need that strategic Bitcoin reserve.
It's a pretty solid theory. My fear is if we create a reserve Bitcoin currency, doesn't that subject the cryptocurrency to a lot more centralization and regulation?
Well, Bitcoin is decentralized. And so, there's no really, centralizing it, right, and controlling it.
But Janet Yellen, Biden's Treasury Secretary, she wanted to centralize it. She wanted to figure out a way to control it more. So what's to say that that conversation isn't going to be reopened?
Well, there's the concept of creating like a USD coin where the government would actually be in charge of the cryptocurrency. In that case, it would be controlled. So I would be very, very skeptical of that. In terms of the strategic Bitcoin reserve, something like what El Salvador has done, that could very much be in our future. And if you think of it like, it's not like our dollar is backed by this strategic reserve, but we have these strategic reserves to help boost up and prop up the value of the dollar because of this limited supply of Bitcoin that's out there versus, just similarly, there's a limited supply of gold, right? So I think that's what they're going to try to claim and say, hey, we can make our dollar more valuable through this. And then once the United States does this and we have our Bitcoin reserve, you're going to see other countries, Germany, France, China, Russia, other countries out there are going to start buying their Bitcoin reserves, shooting up the value of Bitcoin even more, making our reserves that we initially bought at the much lower price far more valuable. So that's my theory on what's going to happen. It's a large scale pump play to pump up the value of the dollar, but we'll see. That's my theory. So it's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but I like it. I'm sticking by it.
Brave new future. No, I think it's a very interesting. No one really is talking about it. I think we just want the invite to the Fort Knox watch party when it happens. Yeah. I'm sure you're going to be throwing a really fun one.
Me? I'm not. I'm probably going to watch Elon's stream of him walking around picking up gold bars with Trump. It's going to be hilarious.
It really will be. They'll have to invent some kind of new dance for it all, but amazing. Love this. John Mates, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Same. See ya.
Coming up, Josh Hammer of Newsweek steps up to play a game of headline roulette. Don't go away.